Welcome to episode 9 of the Degenerate Football Podcast. I am the Degenerate RJ Choppy. This is not a degenerate. He's a smart gambler, Bo from the Football Glory Hole. And this is an amazing weekend. More college, more pro, coming off a 20-11 weekend for the Football Glory Hole. These guys just crush it. When I tell people I'm betting 31 games in a weekend, are you nuts? No, you're nuts if you don't do it. The amount of times we're winning, you're nuts if you're not betting all these bets. We're not going to give out 31 selections this week, even though we have 31 selections. We're only going to give about 4. So let's start with a little bit of college football. The only undefeated team remaining in the Big 12 is the Baylor Bears, and they have a game against Oklahoma. Baylor is a 10-point home dog.
Baylor is 10-point home dog. Now, Baylor, if you look at the season, they're only 5-4 against the spread. It's not great, but if you dive further into that numbers, you'll see that 4 of their 5 teams that they did cover against have all been quality opponents. Now, we define quality of opponents by better than average teams in our power rankings. In other words, they have a net positive ranking in our power ranking. Their 4 against the spread losses have all come against non-quality opponents. Again, a team below average in our power rankings, except for one who was an FCS school. They didn't cover against them. It's obviously not a quality team anyway, right? They're FCS. We don't rate FCS teams. That starts to put together the narrative on Baylor, at least against the spread. Obviously, they're winning every game. They're 9-0, but they exceed expectations against better schools. They really get up for those games. They're there for it. The only other time they were a dog this year at home was against Iowa State, another good football team, right? They were 2.5-point dogs. They won that game outright. OU, on the other hand, is 4-5 against the spread on the year. And we talked about when we gave you Kansas State, right, plus 23.5 a couple weeks ago. Who won that game, Chauvin?
Kansas State outright.
They did win it outright. So OU, the way to cover against OU, which a lot of teams have against 4-5 against the spread, you got to score with them. You can't stop their offense. You're not going to do that. Baylor averages 32.8 points a game. That is more than enough to hang with OU this week. And if you look at the power rankings, the only team that OU has covered against on the road this year was UCLA. They're ranked 50th right now in our power rankings. Baylor's only 10 spots back in OU in our power rankings. That's not enough to make up to 10.5 points. Go Bears.
All right, so that's number 1. Number 2, not quite the Baylor-Oklahoma matchup, which is a big matchup. It's UAB minus 17.5 against UTEP. Listen, don't worry about the size of the matchup, okay? How many times have we told you it's not the size that counts? What matters is how much information we have going into this one, and you guys love UAB minus 17.5.
Love UAB, and we love these games like this, Chavi. This is a true degenerate special pick.
Yeah.
Now, I got a question for you, OJ.
Yeah.
Since 2017, do you know who the number 1 ATS team at home is in the country?
It's not Tennessee.
No.
Is it UAB?
It is UAB.
Holy cow.
They are an incredible 13-2-1. That is 86.7% cover rate against the spread at home. And on top of that, they have a plus 6.1 ATS variance cumulative over that span. What does that mean? It means that no matter what the situation they're in, they are net meeting expectations over a span of 16 games.
Wow.
Just incredible. And what about when they're a home favorite? Well, same time span, they're 10-2 against the spread, 83.3% with a plus 5.4 against the spread cumulative variance. UAB is also 16-6 in their last 22 conference games. That's a 72.7% cover rate. Why is that important? Known common opponents, right? Not only just did you know each other, but you also know the teams they play, kind of how they do things, the way they do conference year in and year out. That's an insanely good clip to be doing that. Last thing on this game, power ranking wise, UTEP is 3rd from the bottom in the entire country.
Wow.
In our power rankings, they are 6-9-1 in their last 16 as a road dog with a 24-point margin of loss.
I don't know what did you say? What kind of variance? Cumulative variance? I don't know what that means. I'm bad at math. The other day on the radio show on 105 Through the Fan with Sean and myself, I couldn't figure out how to do a 7-team playoff. I didn't know you just give the first team a bye and then the other 3 play. I thought, well, you got to have 7 and 6 play, then you got to have first 2 and bye. I couldn't figure it out. Like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I'm an idiot. So they just tell me to do, and I'm just going with it here. Let's go a little NFL. I absolutely love these matchups. First off, Tampa plus 5.5 against New Orleans. New Orleans is such a weird team. They win games, but their offense has not been as good as it has been in previous years. And I'll tell you, Tampa's got really good weapons. They could score with just about anyone.
They can, and so we'll lead off with this with a couple of trends real quick. The Bucs are 5-2 in their last 7 as a home dog, and more specifically 4-1 as a home dog between 3.5 to 10 points. So that's where exactly this fits in. The Saints in that same range, 3.5 to 10 points, 0-5 in their last 5 as a favorite. Saints are 2-5 against the spread after a straight-up loss, 1-6 against the spread after their last 7 ATS losses, and 2-7 last 9 as a favorite overall. Now, why do we bring those trends up? It's always to correlate it with something. Basically, what that shows you is New Orleans is getting overvalued, probably because of all the public faith, right? They built up Drew Brees as a Hall of Famer, right? Everybody always buys into the Saints. And you might think to yourself, well, yeah, but Vegas knows how much they are worth. How could they be getting overvalued? That is true, but what you have to remember about the sports betting scene, it is a market. And like any other market, New York Stock Exchange, your local farmers market, things are worth what people are willing to pay for them.
Right.
Period. The books know that. So the books know there's some teams that the public is willing to pay more on shop.
Correct.
And some teams are not. So anytime they know that you're going to be willing to line up and pay more, you're going to get charged more, just like anything else in this country, right? So what does that mean? It means that New Orleans is consistently overvalued. And yes, they do get beat by guys like us that'll slide on the other side, but Chop, we're such the minority. We mean nothing to Vegas. Like, they don't care. They'll pay us, right? Because they're going to get that public dollar. The thing about Tampa Bay, like you said about their weapons, they are only 2-7 against the spread all year. The reason why their 2-ins are so bad is because it's been the turnover. Jameis Winston, in the 2 games that they did cover, has 1 pick combined. In the other 7, he's thrown 13. Ugh. Teams that win the turnover battle in the NFL cover 77% of the time. 77%.
Wow.
So the actual advantage here is definitely in Tampa Bay. They're not nearly as far away as New Orleans as a football team if you actually basically look at the numbers. So if Tampa Bay can avoid the turnover and just play a football game without destroying themselves, it is a big if. But if they can, I actually personally like Tampa Bay to possibly win this game.
Oh, money line, baby, money line.
They're plus 215 on the money line right now.
Just music to my ears.
So what does that mean? It means you bet $1, you win $2.15 back. And Choppy, anytime you can get a 2-1 money line dog in the NFL,
take it.
It's hard to pass that up.
Very nice, very nice. All right, the other one we got, and this was a really good game a couple of weeks ago on a Thursday night. Arizona plus 10.5 at San Francisco. This game's already been bet down a full point.
It has. So we actually locked it into the Super Contest at 11.5. We gave it out to our clients at 11.5. Hopefully you locked it in. We just gave you Arizona 2 weeks ago plus 10, right? Like you said on Thursday night, and they covered against San Francisco.
Yeah.
San Francisco won by 3. So let's talk about what's changed in 2 weeks. Well, on the San Francisco side, Kittle's out. Right. So they're automatically more, no matter what you value him at, they're automatically limited more offensively. And you saw exactly what that means to Jimmy G-String in this offense when they played Seattle, right? Had a real hard time passing the ball. Then you look at the actual game the last time they met. Arizona got San Francisco out of their element. They made them throw the ball way more than they wanted to. That was the most attempts. It was 37 pass attempts Jimmy Garoppolo had in that game. The most attempts all year long. That's not what Shanahan wants to do.
Right.
He wants to keep him between 20 and 27 attempts, run the ball, be very efficient, and they couldn't do that. So that right there lets you know that Arizona had a great game plan and one that we believe that they can repeat. On the flip side of that, Arizona's getting better, guys.
Yeah,
Arizona the last 2 weeks, we've upgraded them a full point in our power rankings. That's hard to do this late in the season. And San Francisco on the other side has shrunk another point. And then you look at where the line has adjusted. So if it's 10 points in Arizona, you play the +6 game, it flips to San Francisco. It should be San Francisco -16 if everything was the same. So for them being lined up at 11.5, Vegas is already agreeing with us. These teams are going 2 different directions because you've already lost 3.5 points of where you should have been, right? So I'm
confused too. I know.
The fact that it's going down, it tells you that Arizona obviously was the right side. It still is the right size at 10, 10.5. If it gets below the 10, it gets a little iffy there.
Yeah.
All right, because San Francisco is the much better football team. Let's not get it twisted. However, that gap has shrunk, and they already covered 10 points against the same team, actually a better version of this team, 2 weeks ago. So go
Very
Cardinals.
nice. There you go. These are all going to be, this is going to be on the YouTube page. It's going to be on 1053thefan.com. It's going to be at RJ Choppy on Twitter. And then the Football Glory Hole, where you can find their podcasts.
At F-Ball Glory Hole, you find our podcast anywhere you find podcasts. Just search the Football Glory Hole podcast.
This has been episode 9 of the Degenerate Football Podcast. Making money hand over fist, or fist over hand. I don't really know what it is. I don't really know what it means. It doesn't really matter. Point is, we're making cash. 20-11 last week. Keep it going this week. We'll talk to you boys and girls next week. Monday, 5:30 a.m. to 10, 105 through the Fan.